Hey, girls and boys, it's time for remote art again. And you may be wondering, what is this strange place that Mr. Zeichner's in today? Well, today we're going to be talking about surreal landscapes. And I'm in a painting. I'm in a painting by the great surrealist Yves Tanguy. And we'll be talking about him and a couple of others. Trying to get my technology together. Okay, I'm going to will myself into another place and. Oh, what is this place? This is a surreal landscape by Max Ernst. And another very strange place. Now, you may have seen backgrounds like this in science fiction movies or, I don't know, some kind of strange 3D video games, but these paintings were done almost 100 years ago. So when these were done, they were very strange, and no one had ever seen anything like them. And let me see if I can will myself into another place. Is it too obvious that I'm clicking on something with my computer? Okay, and where am I now? I'm in a strange, surreal cartoon landscape by George Harriman, the cartoonist who created Crazy Cat. And his backgrounds also in his comic strips look like strange, surreal landscapes. So let's look at a few of these and then we'll talk about how we could try to use what we know about making 3 dimensions and create our own surreal landscape. So here's another painting by Yves Tanguy, the French surrealist who made one of the worlds I just visited. And what is this place? What's going on here? It's some kind of landscape, right? It's a place, and there are things in it, and in a way, it looks so real, right? It looks very three-dimensional. And how does he show that? He has shading and textures and these cast shadows. But at the same time, we might say it's abstract. Abstract means that we don't know what the things are, or it's a kind of art that just shows shapes and lines and textures. So he kind of does 2 things at once. He makes something that's very real looking and also very abstract. Here's another one by him. This is like a whole city made with these strange abstract 3D shapes. And we don't know if they're rocks really or buildings, or we don't know what this place is. So this is another way, this is another kind of surrealism where artists try to create this very dreamlike world. Here's another painting by Max Ernst. He was a German artist. And to me, his paintings really look like the way I imagine another planet. But these paintings were made long before there were science fiction movies. You know, you might have seen things like this in films, but this is a long time before that. And he has a lot of texture in his surreal landscapes, doesn't he? He also has a lot of shading that makes things look very realistic. Now I'm going to show you something really different. And this is the cartoonist George Harriman, who created a comic strip called Crazy Cat. And he was someone who was way ahead of his time. He made these comic strips before those painters made those surrealist paintings. And he was an American cartoonist. He was African American from New Orleans, which was a very creative place in the 1920s when he was doing these comic strips. And it was a very funny, unusual comic strip. It was about a cat, crazy cat, who was in love with a mouse, but the mouse hated the cat, and he'd always throw a brick at the cat. And then there was a dog policeman who was in love with the cat, and he would always throw the mouse in jail at the end. And pretty much every comic strip was like that, but there'd be all these funny, crazy jokes that he put into it. And the backgrounds were very surrealistic. He'd have these odd shapes. Here's another one. Trees that looked like no trees that anybody had ever seen. Now, this is another thing. It's a little hard maybe to appreciate how new this was, because you've probably seen a lot of cartoons. Maybe this looks a little like SpongeBob. Maybe it looks like some kind of video game you might have played. But this was extremely creative and new and unusual when this first came out. So let's see if we can think about how we can create our own surreal landscapes, like a place out of a dream. Okay, guys, using what we know about 3D shapes and shading and light and shadow. Okay? All right, so I'm going to draw my own surreal landscape, and I'm going to use pen. This is just a regular ballpoint pen. They used to give these away at my bank. And I'm feeling inspired by George Harriman, that crazy cat cartoonist. I love his pen style. The kinds of marks and the way he does his shading with pen. And when you work with pen like this, you just kind of got to go with it. You can't really change anything that you do. Not much. And I'm going to try not to think about this too much. I want to let my unconscious or my subconscious mind take over. That's the part of you that dreams. I think I'll draw some kind of thing coming up over the horizon. Really not planning very much here. And I don't know what this place is even. Maybe another planet? I try to draw some kind of a tree over here coming out from in front of the horizon. And this tree, I don't know, it's going to be almost like a crazy straw. Just branches going in all kinds of weird directions. Maybe this is a spiral, like a pretzel. Just a thing I've never seen on this earth. These branches are almost like hands. Let's put some kinds of, these look almost like tropical leaves. And the roots. I want to make these roots really long, like going all the way into the middle ground area. Kind of, they're so long because this is a dry place, and these roots are seeking out water. Maybe there's a little puddle or some kind of little pond over here, because it's more of a puddle. And these roots just kind of find water and slurp it up. Let's see, maybe a couple more going this way. Are there trees like that with moving roots? I don't think so. And let's put a cliff here. I like some of those tall, craggy landforms in Max Ernst's landscapes. All right, and what else can we put in this strange, surreal landscape? You know, the thing is, I'm just gonna make a shape here. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna think about it. Whatever this is, I'm gonna try to make it look three-dimensional. Maybe it's got a side like this. It's sort of 3D. You could do this with any shape, really. I don't think that looks a little strange. I don't think you'd be able to see under there. But you can take any shape and just figure out which way you're looking at it from, and you can make it three-dimensional. What else could we put in here? I don't know. Maybe that's good for now. And well, we've got some sense of space in here, but what we really need is that light and shade, right? So we need to imagine there's a sun, some otherworldly sun here. And it's shining down this way, and everything has to have a shaded side when it's going away from the sun. So it'll be underneath and on the left side. So when you're doing this with pen, you can make shading with little lines like that. This would kind of get lighter as it comes to the top, I think, right? Who knows? It's all made up. See, it's imaginary, but if you want to make it look real, you have to think about what you know about light and shade. So this is called cross-hatching. Now, you don't have to use a pen. You can use whatever you want. I just felt inspired to do this with pen because I've been doing all my lessons with pencil. Thought I'd try something else. Maybe this would be kind of light, right? Because the light's hitting it. Whatever this thing is it alive? Is it some kind of sculpture? And of course we need this, right? The cast shadow to show that it's on the ground. And again, I can make this shadow with these kinds of there's many ways you can do this. You can do this with little scribbly lines. You can make little cross marks over each other. That's called cross hatching. You can make feathery lines just coming along the side. This tree, I can add some texture lines to it. Tree, plant, whatever it is. And let's say I want to show that this tree is a darker color. I can just shade the whole thing in with these little marks. And again, you can do this with pencil, whatever you're drawing with. Sort of shade the whole thing in to give it a kind of color. And then, well, to show that it's round, you shade it a little more on the side, right? And on the bottom. bottom and the left. Everything that's got a left and a bottom, that's where you put the shading. You don't want to shade on both sides, usually. Let's put this shading here. And this also needs a cast shadow, right? Now in this case, the cast shadow is also where those roots are. So it's sort of like the root is in the shadow area. I got this cast shadow here, and maybe put some little water lines. This craggy thing, let's see, how could I do the shading on this? Maybe I'd show there's some texture on it, draw the bottom of it. Maybe there are some rocks on the bottom. Maybe there's even some grass there. And we can show some texture on here. And now I'm going to shade along this side. Maybe I'll put some value kind of going into the middle of it. And with different objects, you might want to do your shading differently to show that texture. Like with this, I might want to go a little more scribbly. And kind of got to take your time with pen. Think a little bit, kind of build those shades bit by bit. Starting to look a little 3D. Since all of these little rocky things have a curve to them, you kind of have to show that, you know, that shading all the way in it. There we go. And this needs the cast shadow too. Should we put some clouds on here? Oh, this cliff thing. Maybe this has a part that comes down here. Bring that more into the picture. This would also, maybe this would cast a shadow over here. You could draw just about anything and make it look three-dimensional. Okay, let me see. Let's test that. I'm just gonna make it almost like a I don't know, what is that? Just a complete mess. And can we make this look three-dimensional? Let's see. If I put a little shading over here. You can do this with anything. Decide whether it's a round thing or an angular thing. Like, would it be more like a cube, or would it be more like a ball? Right? This one I'm making round. And just put that shading on it. And look, put a little cast shadow on there too. So when you look at those paintings by Tanguy, this is what he's doing. He's just creating whatever crazy shapes come out of his head and then very carefully shading them to make it look like it's this totally random thing is real. Let's see. That's starting to look more like there's grass under it. There we go. So anyway, these are just, now the idea isn't for you to copy what I just drew. I hope none of you just copy this drawing. This was just me making it up as I went along. I was winging it. Just want to give you an idea of just how to, I'm improvising here. I'm just making it up as I go. And that's kind of what surrealism is all about. Letting your unconscious dream mind take over when you're coming up with your ideas. You know, like almost like there's like a little, I mean, think about that. Every night you go to sleep and have these dreams, and your brain just creates this movie inside your head. It's incredible. So the idea is to try to get in touch with that to create something magical. Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing what surreal landscapes you guys come up with. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're feeling great and keeping busy and entertained. I really enjoyed your Magritte drawings, your surreal still life drawings. Those were great. And I've posted them on today's lesson. I put them all together in a PDF so you can share. You can look at each other's work, give each other shout outs. Okay, so have a wonderful week and take care, guys.